Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. Welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma. If you haven't already, please make sure you make sweet, sweet love to that subscribe button, give the bell a few kisses so you're not missing any of this content designed to help you with your mental health or help you help someone else. I put off making this video, or more accurately talking about this part of my journey, for years, and there's several reasons behind that. First of all is I know that there are certain aspects of the story that are going to bring judgment and contempt from other people, and I wasn't in a place where I could put something so fragile. This is such a sensitive part of my story, and it's such a pain point for me that I couldn't put something so fragile into the hands of people who could mistreat it, mishandle it, to crush it. I just wasn't ready for that. Second, I have a tendency to try to protect people. I don't want other people to hurt because of me. And I knew that this was a journey that if I shared in real time, it's unpredictable. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. The people that are close to me are probably going to feel losses with me. And I just didn't want to put other people through that. And there was also a part of me that just wanted to hold on to that pride that I needed to do something on my own for once, because I feel like I always reached out to other people. I always reached out to my best friend when something happened. I was always trying to reach out to other people, and I just needed to know that I could do something completely on my own. So I really have no idea how this video is going to go. It's just going to be kind of a story time. I don't really have any script. I have a couple of notes of timeline so that I don't forget the order in which things happened, but I need to get it out of my system. I need to talk about it. I need to share this with you guys, and I think that there are a lot of people out there who need to hear it. So I hope this video falls into the recommended feed of the right people. So first I'm going to dive into the part that I think people are going to judge me most harshly for, and I say this based on experience or based on the exposure to other people's experiences, and that is the fact that I desperately wanted a little girl. I wanted to be a girl mom. Now, that's not to say that I don't love my 14-year-old son. I do. And let's rewind a little bit and actually start back when I was pregnant with him. When I found out the gender of my son when I was pregnant with him, I experienced pretty intense gender disappointment, which actually isn't uncommon for women or even men, but it's something that is so heavily shamed in our society. I had every single person except one friend in my life straight up turn on me. And I don't mean just kind of ghost me. I mean send me the nastiest comments and messages about how you should just be grateful and you don't deserve your son. And instead of being supportive to the fact that I was having to let go of this dream, they just tore me apart and attacked me. So this is the memory that I had when I went into a journey of going for my little girl, because I'd repressed this for so long just because so many people had torn me apart. And I'd seen posts that were even worse of people that were saying that they had gender disappointment, or that they wanted to go through IVF to gender select, or that they had a preference for the gender of their child. I saw posts that were much worse than the messages I got, and I just went, wow, okay, people are not going to be accepting of this, so I'm just not going to talk about it, because the situation is already hard enough to get through. The process is already emotional and it's already draining, and I just didn't want that added layer of people that just didn't understand, that didn't want to understand, that were stuck in their own beliefs, that didn't want to choose to have empathy for another person and their journey and their dreams. I didn't want those people infiltrating my world. I did tell you guys about the miscarriage that I had at the end of 2020, and I actually feel like that was kind of the catalyst that opened my heart back up to realize I want this, and I've been denying this because of other people. I've been denying wanting a daughter because of other people. Now, I didn't know the gender of that pregnancy because I wasn't far enough along, but of course in my heart I thought I have to be getting my little girl. I have to be pregnant with a little girl, because why on earth would the universe deny me that, right? I've been a good person, I've done the right thing, and even with my son, I explained to him, I said, it's not that I don't love you, it's not that I didn't want you, it's that I didn't know how to love a little boy. And you taught me how to do that. You're so amazing and you are so loving and you're such a special person that you taught me how to love a little boy. And he ended up breaking down into tears because he was so touched by that. So when I explained it to him, he understood, but I couldn't expect the rest of the world to. So end of 2020, I found out I was pregnant. It was not in the most ideal of circumstances, and that's an understatement, but I was happy. And I felt this renewed hope of this is a dream that I had pushed so far down and I might be getting a second chance. And I was ecstatic and I didn't care if I had to do it alone. I didn't care about the logistics. I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this baby. I'm going to have a little girl, because in my heart, I just had to believe this was a little girl. And when I lost her, I was devastated. And I made a whole vlog specifically about this miscarriage, so I don't want to go too much into it, but I was just devastated. And this triggered a whole lot of changes in my life, massive changes, massive revelations about myself and about the things I wanted for my future and the things that I dreamed of for so long that I'd denied myself. Shortly after this miscarriage, when I had to get some things in place, I had to rearrange my life a bit, I had to make some huge changes, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try for this little girl. And again, I went in with so much reckless optimism and so much blind faith that I thought, I'm going to get a girl this time. It's going to happen. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that I'm going to try and I'm going to get pregnant and it's going to be a girl. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I believed this in the very depths of my heart. So this began the journey of, well, doing the thing that you have to do to try to get pregnant. And I honestly expected that it would work just right off the bat, first month, no problem. I did not see any complications. I didn't see any roadblocks to me getting this dream. I thought I had that awakening moment. You know, I was the main character of the story that had her awakening and who is now empowered and is going after her dream. And we're sold this idea that once you have that revelation, well, everything's going to work out for you, right? Because you did the hard stuff, you did the work, and now things just have to play out for you. That's often the narrative that we get in Hollywood, right? Imagine my surprise when I get a period. I cried and cried and cried. I didn't understand. I thought, but this isn't how this story is supposed to go. So I had this expectation. This isn't how this story is supposed to go. This isn't how this is supposed to play out. I had my awakening, you know, I had my revelation. I had my little montage of getting my life back together. This isn't how this is supposed to go. But I thought, you know what, it's not a big deal. Maybe my body just needed to recuperate after the miscarriage, even though it had been several months. Maybe my body just didn't have enough time to recuperate. So that's what I told myself and pressed forward and kept trying for several more months. And I cried my eyes out at every single period. I would just bawl my eyes out every single time I got my period. And this went on for months. So then I thought, okay, maybe I'm not doing this at the right time. Maybe I'm not not tracking my periods right or my cycles right. And maybe I need to do better at the timing of our efforts, right? So I went and got these little ovulation sticks that tell you the days that you should be having intercourse in order to try to get pregnant. Now, let me tell you, by the way, side tangent, whoever made these things is freaking sadistic because they look like pregnancy tests and they give you the little smiley faces on your ovulation days, on your peak days when you're supposed to be having sex. They give you these little smiley faces. I'm going, this is cruel for someone who's trying to get pregnant. It just, that connection, that mental imagery really irked me out. So it already was just feeling kind of traumatic right at the bat that it's, okay, I'm not having success. And now this stupid little smiley face is like mocking me that I'm not pregnant. That's how it felt. It felt like it was mocking me that I wasn't pregnant. But I forged forward thinking, okay, I just need a little bit of science on my side. You know, I just need a little bit of planning. So I started using those and I started doing the devil's tango at the right times so that it would be optimal for conception. Another month, I hit my period. I'm like, what the heck? This isn't making any sense now. I don't know what's going on. Another month, hit my period. Now I'm just getting frustrated. Now I'm just getting angry, honestly, because I don't understand why this isn't working. So I'm angry, I'm getting depressed, I'm crying a lot. And I thought, okay, maybe there's something off. Maybe one of my hormones is off or something, and I just need to go get that sorted out and everything will be hunky-dory. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, your thyroid's low. There's no wonder that you haven't been able to get pregnant because your thyroid's low. And I didn't want to say, except ma'am, I did get pregnant and then had a miscarriage. But I thought, okay, maybe that miscarriage was because my thyroid was low and I couldn't sustain a pregnancy. Good to know. This is great. Now I can get things in order so that my body can handle pregnancy. So she puts me on a thyroid supplement and she says, here's all these other supplements that you need to take, which was already a laundry list of these different vitamins and stuff that she suggested. And then she put me on this ridiculous regime, like this ridiculous nutrition regime of you pretty much can't eat anything that isn't rabbit food. That's how it felt. And I'm already vegan and I feel like I eat pretty healthy, but she said if you really want to take this seriously, you need to really put your nose to the grindstone and make sure that you're giving your body the best chance possible. Okay, cool. I guess I'm eating rabbit food now. Now I feel like my comforts are starting to be stripped away. I can't eat things that bring me comfort, and I am a comfort eater, believe it or not. I can't have a drink every few days, like a glass of wine. So I'm feeling like my comforts are being stripped away, but you know what? Fine, it's worth it. So I move forward with her regime, continuing to use the little ovulation testers, thinking, all right, now I have doctors on my side, I have timing on my side. What could possibly go wrong now? Doesn't work again. Okay. Doesn't work again. I go back, I talk to the doctor. She says, we're going to send you to a specialist so that they can do, and I don't even remember the name of the procedure that they did, but basically it was to clear out the fallopian tubes in case eggs, for whatever reason, weren't able to travel the fallopian tubes because my miscarriage was ectopic, right? So they said, we're going to check your fallopian tubes. We're going to clear out your fallopian tubes. I thought, okay, that makes sense because maybe something happened when they were treating the ectopic pregnancy. Maybe something happened and they just need to clear out some of the debris and everything will be fine, which was not a pleasant experience at all. And to top it off, just as like the knife in my side, the nurse that was talking to me, that was treating me, her entire tablet that she had that she was taking notes and stuff on and she was putting in my information, the whole entire back of it was covered in frozen stuff, as in the cartoon that had traumatized me since my miscarriage, when I started having nightmares and stuff about frozen birthday parties. Yeah, so this is now being shoved in my face and I started crying at the office. This lady, bless her heart, bless her pea-pickin' heart, she literally peeled these stickers off the back of her tablet because I was crying over freaking Elsa and Olaf. So if she ever happens to watch this video, you have no idea how much that meant to me, just to feel heard and valued to that degree. But I thought this was so uncomfortable, so painful at the time. And now I look back and go, it was like the easiest part of the process, honestly. But get that through, I get the results, everything's fine. So what's the problem? You have to try for a year before you can really start looking at the prospect that maybe further intervention is needed. So when it hit the year of this continuously not working, continuously having periods, I started freaking out, honestly. But then I started thinking, wait a second, all this time I've just been taking the gamble. I've been playing Russian roulette with this when there's really a 50-50 shot of me getting what I want anyway, of me getting a girl. So I thought maybe this is a sign that I need to go the science route. I need to go the IVF route. I didn't know a lot about IVF, but I thought maybe I need to go that route so that I can feel secure that I'm getting a girl, and I don't have to spend that whole first trimester being paranoid and being scared and being anxious, because you already have enough of that when you're pregnant. So I thought, okay, maybe this is just the way it was meant to happen. All right. Now I'm at the point of scheduling appointments with local fertility doctors to get an idea of what I'm looking at, to get an idea of what the process is, just to get more information. One of them was an absolute wackadoodle. One of them didn't really have great reviews and feedback, so you're kind of limited. This isn't a specialty that a lot of doctors delve into, so it's kind of limited, and I ended up going with this particular clinic. I'm obviously not going to name names, but I ended up going with this particular clinic because nurses seemed really kind. They seemed very informed. They had really good success rates. So I said, okay, I'm going to forge forward with these people. I looked at their website, what insurance supposedly covered, what the out-of-pocket costs would be. There were opportunities to get discounts and stuff because I'm lower income. The way it was explained up front, it honestly didn't seem like that big of a deal financially or even physically. I knew that there would be an emotional aspect to it, but the way they explained it physically was that you take some medication, you go in, they extract the eggs, they insert the sperm into the egg to create the blastocyst, and then they're going to put that back inside of you, right? So that doesn't really seem like all that big of a deal. It was just explained in such a nonchalant way that I thought, okay, I could do that. That's not a big deal. Super easy, barely an inconvenience, right? So I sign up for this. I tell myself, maybe you at some point willingly signed up for this journey. But I feel like a lot of it was I wasn't actually prepared for what this entailed. And I'm just going to straight out say it. I was massively deceived when it came to the financial aspect of this journey. They were just straight up dishonest. After a few blood tests and a sperm analysis and some other tests, they did verify that I was experiencing unexplained infertility. So I get this official diagnosis, and let me tell you, I have had a cancer diagnosis in my life too, and this hit me so much harder because in my head it's, well, cancer can be treated, right? Cancer is something that they can deal with. They can give you different options, but infertility just almost sounded so final, even with them explaining how quote unquote simple this process was. It's just, how did I go from 100 to 0 in a year? The answer to that, by the way, is that pregnancy is considered geriatric after age 35. So I'm considered geriatric, and that year made a much bigger difference than I thought it did because of the egg quality and the egg count dropping so drastically after age 35. So with each year that passes, it drops more and more and more drastically. So at this point, I have an official diagnosis. I'm spiraling out of control, trying to come to terms with it. But I had a plan. I had a solution. I had hope. I had a possibility. So I went into this hand in hand with my partner going, okay, you know what? Again, the universe is not going to deny me of this. And I went in with my head held high. I went in with anxiety and ambivalence, but almost delusional sense of hope that this has to work. This has to work. There's no other option. This has to work. I actually had thought, you know what, I have a bit of an edge because I have already gone through so much loss. I've already gone through so much emotionally. I've already gone through so much grief. I know how to process these things. I know how to handle these things. I have a strong toolbox, right? So I was almost a bit cocky about the fact that I thought I have a leg up on people that would struggle with the situation, that would struggle with this journey, because I thought that I already had built this resilience and built this strength through losing my parents or through the previous miscarriage. I thought I knew what to expect, and boy, was I freaking wrong. Yeah, by the way, I also decided to go back to school at this exact same time because I figured, okay, well, if I'm on this mission of righting the wrongs in my life, the fact that I dropped out of high school and I dropped out of college in my early 20s, I need to right these wrongs. My mom once told me that the only disappointment she ever really had was that I dropped out of high school. And I did that because I was sexually assaulted and I just didn't want to see that person ever again. I freaked out and I didn't know how to handle that situation. And I kept that a secret for a very long time too. I made a vlog about that quite a while ago, but that was the one thing my mom was really disappointed about. So I was just pumped. I was just, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to fix all the mistakes I made in my life, because as Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus says, it's never too late to correct a mistake. So I was very adamant about, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna correct all this. I'm just gonna fix everything. I'm just gonna fix my life. That was my mindset, is I'm going to fix my life. And I thought that I could just do another little montage and that everything would be okay. So I am starting school at the same time that I'm starting IVF. I decided this halfway through that fall semester. Fortunately, the way classes are set up now is you can do A classes, which are at the beginning of the semester, B classes, which are at the end of the semester, or C classes, which take the whole semester. Now, the A and B classes, those are expedited classes, so they cram the material into half the time. And I had said, okay, I'm going to take a couple of those that are on the easier side so that I can knock out a few of these prereqs. And it was a computer class and a how to go to college class, basically this required class that for whatever reason every college decides that you need to take now. So I knocked these classes out online. So those weren't too bad. I have to say I'm super grateful that these classes were easier, because I had a bad reaction to this synthetic estrogen that they put me on to prep me for the cycle. And I spiraled into this really bleak, really dark, really deep depression. And it was turning into very dark thoughts. And the doctor said, we have to wait until next month. We might have to try a different protocol with the estrogen, because there were several options. There was a patch, there was a pill, there were several options for this. So he said, we're gonna have to try again, which devastated me, because at this point I want to move forward now. So I not only was taking these couple of classes, but I took CLEP tests, which are equivalency tests. So if you can pass these tests, then you get credits for the respective classes. So in my case, I tested out of Psych 101, 4 years of French. I clept out of a whole bunch of classes, because you just have to go take the test, right? You don't have to take any class or anything like that. You just go take the test to prove that you have the knowledge. So I reviewed and studied a little bit on these things and then went and took these equivalency tests. So I was just like, nope, I want to knock it out. I want to get my degree as quick as possible. I want to get into IVF as quick as possible. So while this was meant to help my mental health, it actually was a huge hit to it. And I didn't know how to accept that I had to wait. I didn't know how to find any level of patience in this process at this point, because it's no, remember, doc, time's ticking. You said that I'm geriatric, that my eggs are pretty much just frying by the day at this point. I'm now an anxiety blob trying to reason with them. I don't want to wait. Can we please just push through this? He refused. So I had no choice but to let these meds come out of my system and wait till the next opening for them to be able to start a cycle. Finally get to that point, and it's actually a little bit over a month, because those hormones affected my cycle. So I have to wait till my next cycle starts, and there's certain times during the cycle. Oh, the times. Oh, the timing aspect. Just hold on. Just brace yourself, because the level of punctuality you have to have for all this stuff is just wild. And that's the next part of this journey. That's the next cycle that we have. So the next cycle that we have, they switch the estrogen aspect. So I balance out emotionally, as balanced as I can be going through this incredibly difficult process. I balance out emotionally, and they teach us, okay, here's how you need to do the injections. Yes, injections, daily injections. So on top of being on this whole entire freaking Whole Foods worth of vitamins that they're still telling me I have to take, and this pharmacy worth of medications isn't pills that I'm having to take. Now it's also, okay, you have to take these injections, but they're on a schedule. So you have to take these on these specific days in the AM, and then you have to take these on these specific days in the PM, and then you switch to these, and then you change the dose here. And it was just so unbelievably convoluted that even with the nurse giving us a printout and telling us, showing us how to mix these meds, because some of them have to be mixed. Like, freaking Walter White sitting over here mixing these drugs and stuff. I just, oh my God. It's almost just PTSD just thinking about all of those drugs. But so we're mixing these, we're measuring these, we're timing these. And when we go in, you have to go in every few days to have blood work done to make sure that your levels are rising in response to these medications. And they said, well, your levels aren't rising properly. Because come to find out, we did not do one of the medications properly. Even though we felt like we followed the instructions, didn't do one of the medications properly. And at this point, it's just kind of just that manic laugh of, because why not? Why wouldn't that be a thing? Okay. So now, not only have we wasted all this money on these medications, because the medications are out of pocket, by the way, and we did get a discount for being lower income, but these medications are out of pocket. And the one medication is $500 a box, and that's with the discount. So these medications are ludicrously expensive. And we're just, you know what? We're going to take loans. We're going to put it on credit cards, just whatever we have to do, make it happen, right? Make it happen. But now we have spent at least several doses of these medications and have to wait to another cycle. And they only do, by the way, they can only do these during certain times in their own calendar. So you have to wait until your calendar matches their calendar. So now we wait another few months. Now I'm in flipping statistics class, which anybody that's ever been in college, this is like the worst class to me. I've talked to so many people that are, oh God, I would rather take advanced chemistry, than statistics. It's just so unbelievably difficult. And I know there's harder classes out there for sure, but I hadn't been in a math class in 20 years. Okay. I was just so lost. I looked at the papers in the first day and went, I don't even really remember PEMDAS right now. So I crammed the weekend, reviewed everything, got myself to a point of at least being caught up on the basics so that I could dive into this. But this class, just the classwork alone, just doing the homework and showing up for class was probably about 15 to 20 hours in itself. And then I had to take tutoring on top of that to make sure that I was grasping these complicated concepts. So I'm a few weeks into this nonsense when I get to start another cycle, and we are going to do run-throughs, we are going to take notes, it's going to be posted in the bathroom, whatever we have to do to make sure we do this right, because my partner was working on mixing the meds and doing the injections and stuff, because I can't do that to myself. There's no way that I'm going to be able to give myself a shot. No way in hell. So he's taking care of that part for me. And so I said, we're going to do run-throughs. We're going to have all of these things posted. We are going to do everything we can. This is going to be perfect. We're going to get there now. We're fine. We figured everything out. Everything's fine. We're going to get there. Now here I am trying to balance my full-time school load, because at this semester, I'm full-time. I have a full load of classes, one of which is statistics. Another one is research methods, which is also pretty work-heavy. But I have full load of classes, several day jobs that I'm doing to pay the bills and to make sure that we don't fall behind on all of these loans and credit card payments and everything that were accruing during this process. The community here, and of course the IVF itself. What they don't tell you is that IVF is a full-time flipping job. So not only do you have to remember all of these appointments that again, are every couple of days. You have to remember all these oral medications that you can't take all together, so you have to spread those out through the day, and you have to take them at different times. But then you have these injectable medications that change doses through the process, that you change medications entirely. So part of the cycle might be you're taking this one in the morning, and then you're taking these two at the night, but then you have to switch and take this other one in the morning, and then you're only taking one at night, and it's just wild how utterly specific it is. But the cruel irony is that this stuff will deplete you in ways that you never even imagined possible. Mentally, physically, it will just suck all the life force right the hell out of you. And I think honestly, this is what started the extreme insomnia, because when my mom passed in 2007, I started having sleeping issues. So I have been dealing with sleep deprivation, sleep issues since 2007, but I was able to manage it to where at least I was getting a decent amount of sleep. But as this cycle moved on, I wasn't sleeping at all. And I don't know if it was the hormone shifts, or if it was the stress of just having too much on my plate, or if it was the anxiety of not knowing if this is going to work. Whatever the case was, I started developing pretty bad insomnia, where there were days where I didn't sleep at all. There were days where I'd sleep a couple of hours, and it just was breaking me down. It was breaking me down pretty damn hard, pretty damn fast. But I did manage to somehow come to understand statistics, for us to get all these medications right and on schedule, and we got to the point where it's okay. Now we're going to have retrieval. So retrieval is where they put you under anesthesia and they extract the eggs, right? So they tell you you have to go through all these stimulation medications for them to be able to extract these follicles that contain the eggs. And honestly, I have a crippling fear of anesthesia. Number one, I don't react well to medication. That's why I don't take medication for anxiety or depression, because even when they put me on kids' doses, it would give me unbelievable panic attacks. I'd think I was dying. I'd completely dissociate. My heart would race. I couldn't breathe. I was hospitalized multiple times just for the panic attacks that came from these medications. So I was having nightmares in the time that I did sleep. I didn't sleep a lot, but in the time I did sleep, for about a week leading up to this retrieval, I was having unbelievably horrific nightmares of either being awake during the procedure and being locked in, so being paralyzed to where I couldn't express that I was feeling everything, or of coming out of it and having one of those panic attacks again, because those traumatize me. No, they guinea pigged me on kids' doses of pretty much every anti-anxiety and every antidepressant medication on the market for years, until finally I just said, I can't do this anymore, and started going the more natural way. But I was just so unbelievably scared. I was terrified. I was crying all the time. I was emotional. I didn't know how to prepare myself for this, for going under anesthesia. That was just such a huge fear for me. I'm not gonna lie, that was almost enough to make me want to give up. Just the panic and the nightmares and the fear was almost enough to make me want to give up right then and there. But I kept thinking, you'll never know your little girl if you don't get through this process. You're going to take away a chance before you even take it, you know? So I kept thinking of her, and I kept thinking of these dreams that I had and this life that I wanted to live. And I said, I have to face my fear. And I had a friend that I didn't tell them why I was going under surgery, but I did say I had a surgery come up and it was really scaring me. And he said, here's the thing, is what if you do come out and you just absolutely freak out and you lose your mind and you panic and you flail around and maybe you just slug the doctor in the face, whatever. It doesn't matter, because in the end, at the end of the day, you're never going to see these people again after this process is done. So after you go through this treatment, you never have to see these people again. And all you have to do is endure this discomfort. And so I forged forward, and I remember I was shaking so hard when they had me in the room. I was literally just shaking so hard that the nurse had to grab my hand and hold my hand down and stabilize my hand just to be able to get the IV in my hand for the procedure. And I was just crying and crying and crying, being taken back to the point of where, again, they almost said, we can't do this. But I said, look, I just have really bad anxiety around anesthesia. The anesthesiologist came and talked to me beforehand. I said, I do not want any other kinds of medication, because a lot of the times they'll give you anti-anxiety and stuff. I said, anti-nausea, that's fine, but I do not want anti-anxiety medication stuff mixed in with the anesthesia, because that was protocol. And she asked why. I told her. She said, okay, I respect that, which, again, that was another one of those people on the journey that I'm so grateful for her for listening to me and my needs and my journey and my preferences without argument. She said, okay, that's fine. So the fact that she took the time to come talk to me beforehand because I was so upset, and that she listened to me and respected my wishes, that really helped stabilize me emotionally. They took me back, and of course I'm just sitting there, my eyes are darting around, and I'm looking for some kind of crazy final destination sign that this is it, I'm gonna die for sure, absolutely, of course, right? And I'm looking around for this sign, and they come over, and the embryologist starts talking to me, and the doctor starts talking to me, and the nurse starts talking to me. And next thing I know, I'm waking up in recovery. Because obviously they were doing that to distract me so that they could put me under. At this point, they tell you how many follicles they were able to retrieve. In our case, I believe it was 8 that first round. And that didn't give me a lot of hope, although they're doing ultrasounds in the weeks leading up to the retrieval. So you kind of have an idea because they're scanning to see how many they are able to find and how many are growing and how many are at the length they're supposed to be at. So when they go in, they extract everything. They'll take everything, even the smaller ones. But they said there's only a few that are really growing the way we want to see them, but of course we're going to take everything. Now, I was secretly hoping that maybe there would be another 1 or 2 that were hiding that they just didn't see on the scan, but we did end up getting the 8 that they had told us, the 8 that we had expected. Most rational people after surgery would go home and lie down, and that's what they told me to do. But I had to go to my statistics class because we were doing a test review that day, and I knew if I was not present for that test review, I was going to fail the test because the tutoring wasn't really getting that part through to me. I needed to talk to the teacher. I needed to be present to go and work through these practice problems, and she didn't have any availability between that class and our test to be able to meet with me. So I knew I had to make it to this class or I was going to fail a class that I had been putting like enough hours to be a part-time job, literally 20 plus hours a week between the tutoring and the classes and everything. I said, oh no, no, I'm not going to fail at this point. I put too much time and effort in. So I ended up showing up in pajama pants and unicorn slippers and had to go to the bathroom probably every 10-15 minutes to throw up from the anesthesia, and then I'd come back and review some other problems and stuff, and I was understanding it. So it was serving its purpose that I was understanding it, but oh my lordy lord, I cannot believe that I ended up going to a statistics class a couple of hours after having surgery, and then feeling guilty because I threw up all over my boyfriend's car afterward. Now here's where the real fun, the real roller coaster starts, because now you have to wait for the 24-hour mark for them to tell you how many fertilized, right? And then you have to wait several more days to find out how many made it to blastocyst, and then you have to have them scanned to see which ones are genetically normal and how many of those are female. It takes about a week just to find out how many made it, and that isn't including them now having to send it off to figure out how many are genetically sound and the genders of those genetically sound ones. And that takes another week or so, or more. I'm pretty sure I held my breath every minute of every day of those weeks while waiting. But when we got the call, I will never forget getting the call from the doctor and the doctor saying that we had 2 genetically sound viable female embryos, and I squealed. I just was so excited that I am squealing like a schoolgirl. I am squealing as if I were front row at an NSYNC concert, all right? The doctor is literally giggling. My partner is in tears beside me because that means we have 2 chances to get this to work, and I was just so over the moon. I thought we already overcame the worst of the odds, so this is an absolute sure thing now. We have 2 shots, right? But it's not like you can just go down there the next day and have this embryo implanted back into you. Oh no. No, now you have to wait again for the right time in your cycle, and you have to take a bunch more medications. In this case, these were in the butt, and those hurt like hell. Those are the most painful injections to me, and you had to do them every single day on top of other medications, injectable and oral still. So you're still going through all of these shots, all of these medications, and you have to wait for a spot in their calendar that aligns with your cycle. So waiting game just keeps on going. At this point, we are well over, I would say, a year and a half into trying. And from our first decision of saying, you know what, we really want to have a little girl, we really want to go for this, to this point where it's, okay, I can see her on the horizon. She's right there. She's just right there. And we're so close. We beat the odds. We won the lottery. We're right there. Eventually, we get on the calendar, we're set for our transfer, and this is probably the easiest part in the process because all you really do is you lay down at a table with an incredibly full bladder. So that part is uncomfortable, but after all of this, that's fine. I will pee myself. That's cool. I don't care. So I'm laying there feeling like I'm just going to pee all over everybody, and you just lay back and they inject the embryo back into you and you get to watch it on the screen. So this is the first time that I had looked at an ultrasound in years because of the trauma surrounding the miscarriage and everything. So this is the first time I looked at the ultrasound in years because you get to watch this moment of the embryo being put back inside of you. And that was so special to me, and I'm crying and I'm emotional. I just kind of had this moment because I felt it. I felt that energy, and I just lay there and kind of stared at the ceiling, and I could see this whole life with her and my partner just flashing before us, like us having picnics together and her birthday parties, and it was just seriously like the reverse of what they tell you happens when you die, when your life that you lived starts flashing before you. It's like my future started flashing before me, and I was just laying there staring at the ceiling. And they tell you that you have to stay on your back for a certain amount of time so that you are more likely to retain the embryo. So you can't pee or anything, even though you've had a full bladder for probably an hour at this point. And I have a bladder the size of a peanut to begin with. But I'm just laying there lost in these dreams, lost in finally allowing myself to be able to really sit with all these dreams that I had been repressing for so long. These things that I denied myself, that I told myself were never going to happen, that were totally off the table, that just were not real in my world. And I'm just sitting there finally letting myself get lost in this. And we're able to, after that, just get up and I had to go to the bathroom, and I was allowed to at that point. So I get up, I go to the bathroom, they wheel me out in a wheelchair to the car. Fortunately, this time I did not have a statistics class or a test that I needed to prepare for, and I was able to go home and lie down, read a book, watch my show, and just relax for the rest of the day and just sit there and continue. I couldn't really focus on anything. I couldn't focus on the show. I couldn't focus on a book or anything because I'm still just lost in these daydreams. We hunker down and spend the next 2 weeks waiting and, over analyzing every single little thing. It's, my toe is tingling right now. Maybe that's a pregnancy symptom. I'm not kidding. But this whole process, by the way, is a lot of over analyzing, where it's, if I eat this, is this going to cause some issue with my eggs and they're not going to develop properly? Or maybe it's going to affect my egg count. So can I eat anything but kale? It's just this wild obsession. It quickly becomes your whole entire life. It consumes you. It becomes this obsession of everything you eat, everything you do. You're terrified. Every step of the way is just pure terror. Even when you're feeling kind of hopeful, there's still this lingering dark cloud over you of just fear and terror and anxiety. Anyway, we hunker down, we distract ourselves, we get through the 2 weeks, we go back to do the blood test, and then we sit by our phone like the over-attached girlfriend or boyfriend that is just waiting for their long-lost love to call them, waiting for that person's call. And I'm sitting there, and of course, this is the day where I get multiple telemarketer calls, right? Where there's just multiple telemarketer people calling me, and I just want to find them and into them, because every single time I just jump and I scramble at my phone and it's not the clinic. It's not the clinic. Or my friend calls and I'm like, I love you, but I don't want to talk to you right now. Go away. I was just so unbelievably hyper focused on nope, this is gonna be the best day of my life. I'm gonna get this news. Hello?
Hi, Amanda.
Hey.
Hi there. I got your result, and unfortunately it was negative. I'm so sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to have you stop your meds, okay?
Okay.
I still want you to give me a call with your day 1 of your period. I want to see you in consult. I have an availability on the 4th of May at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Do you want to take that? Do you want video or in person?
I don't. Video's fine.
Video's fine. Call back if you want to change it or something. I know I'm hitting you with a lot right now. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll hear from you with your period, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And unfortunately, we get the call and that embryo did not take. That pregnancy did not take. So all we had to do was wait till the point in the cycle when we could do the other transfer and transfer the other embryo. Now, there was a part of me that was, you know what, this makes sense, because it would have been really difficult for me to make the call of what to do with a second embryo. So maybe this is just nature's way of taking that anxiety off of me. So even through this horrific anxiety and this grief and this pain and this trauma that's being brought up, I'm trying so unbelievably hard to just think positive and look on the bright side and be optimistic. And I have space for my grief, but try to look toward the future. So I'm really trying to have faith, to have hope that things are going to work out, because how can they not, right? Things always have to work out in the end. And so we go through the process again of waiting until it's the right part of my cycle, taking the meds again, starting the meds again, which also, by the way, going off and on high doses of hormones in and of itself throws your energy and your emotions off. So there were times where I was breaking down over the craziest little things. I was breaking down over commercials. I was breaking down over my shoes not being in the right place. I was breaking down over, I just hated my hair and I couldn't get it to look nice and I felt hideous. I was breaking down over my boyfriend saying the wrong thing or my son doing the wrong thing. And it wasn't even anything significant. I was just really breaking down and getting emotional over everything because my hormones were all over the place. And again, this had triggered, I think, really bad insomnia, so that just plays into it more. So we go through the next couple of weeks. We make it to the next retrieval, rinse and repeat, lay down, full bladder, feel like I'm gonna pee all over everyone. They put her in, and we wait those couple of weeks. But this time the outcome was very different. At the end of those 2 weeks, they called and they said, "You're pregnant." And I literally started rambling in French. I have no idea what I said. I think I have a video somewhere of it. Hello?
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, having a full-blown panic attack.
You are? Well, stop panicking because I'm calling you with great news. Okay? Yeah, it's positive.
Oh mon Dieu.
146.5.
Je suis enceinte. Je suis enceinte.
Yes. So good. It's such a good number. Good, strong number. I love it. Okay? So you're just going to continue your esterase at 6 milligrams, okay? And your progesterone and oil should be 2 mLs or 100 milligrams at bedtime, or if you're taking that at night, I'm not sure. But you're going to continue that every day. And then I want to go ahead and schedule your blood work for Wednesday and Friday of this week. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You're breathing, right? Okay.
You,
All right.
the-
What time you want to come in on Wednesday? You want to do like 8:15? Okay.
You said the progesterone was being reduced in its...
No,
Or
it's the same.
The same
Nothing
too? Okay.
changes.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Stays the same.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So 8:15 on Wednesday, and then Friday. Can you do 8:45 on Friday?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, honey. You look so good. Okay, everything looks great. All right. So change nothing, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Can I take a bath?
Yes, you can take a bath. Of course.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, sweetie. Call me if you have any questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
I go in a couple days later, they take my blood and they say the numbers aren't rising quite as much as we'd like to see, but it's not really a big deal because they're still rising, so we're fine. Go a couple days later, they're rising a little less, but they're still rising, so we're fine. But then I think it was after the third appointment, the third call, that they said your HCG levels aren't rising hardly at all now, so that's indicative that this pregnancy is not viable. And I happened to be at a school function with my son and my ex, and I had to try to put on this face because I'm never giving my ex the satisfaction of seeing me cry, and I didn't want to break down in front of my son at that time. I was, in this public setting, and we said, hey, we just got a call. We need to take off, and excused ourselves from the rest of this event. It wasn't a huge thing. It wasn't like a sporting event that he was part of or a play that he was part of or anything like that. So we excused ourselves after a few minutes because I realized I'm not able to keep it together. So we excused ourselves, we left, went home, and I just lost it. This cycle actually came with its own special hell because they gave me the choice of you can miscarry naturally or you can take mifepristone, which is part of the abortion pill regime. And I, in my 20s, right after my mom passed away, had terminated a pregnancy that took me a long time to process and come to terms with, and I still really struggle with guilt surrounding that, and I don't think I've ever explicitly said that on the channel. And that's another part of the story that might come with a lot of judgment and a lot of intolerance, and I'm putting myself out there to share that as well, and it's something I might talk more about in the future because I was coerced pretty hard. It's not that I wanted that, it's that I felt trapped and I didn't know what else to do. My mom had passed a year prior and I felt like I had no support. I had nobody. I tried to reach out to both sides, people on both sides of the fence, be it Planned Parenthood or these pro-life people in these pro-life organizations. I was so desperate. And those people all turned on me. So I felt very abandoned at a time where I needed someone. My partner pretty much all but turned on me. So I was in a really confused place and I just didn't know what else to do. And I ended up doing that. I regretted it terribly. And I'm not saying that that's not a choice for some people. I'm not saying that I want to take away that choice for people. I'm saying that it was not the right choice for me. And at this point in the IVF process, they're saying, well, you can either let this happen naturally or go through an abortion, basically. And I couldn't fathom the thought of sitting there and just waiting for it to happen because, number one, this is still, time is ticking, and just thinking about her being inside me but not being there is incredibly traumatizing. And I talked to a pro-life friend and kind of framed it as, this friend of mine, she said, when your friend made that choice before, that actually did terminate a pregnancy, so there was a lot more guilt, I'm sure, surrounding that. But in this case, the pregnancy's already been terminated, the pregnancy's already over, so it's a whole different situation, it's a whole different ballgame, but that didn't make it any less traumatic. As a matter of fact, I had to have the pills inserted inside of me on a certain couch in my house. I have a couple of couches, and I have not touched that couch since. I will not sit on that couch. I hate it. It completely traumatized me. And just having to now go through this process, now this old trauma is being thrown up. This trauma that I thought I'd processed through, that I didn't think was a wound anymore, this wound is being reopened. And that just added a whole nother layer of great, now I'm having to deal with previous trauma while going through this current loss. And it just kind of made it, I would say, like a complex PTSD, I suppose. It was just, I just couldn't find my footing no matter what I did. I felt so splintered, I felt so mangled that I just couldn't find any semblance of normal, any semblance of real living. It was barely survival. I went in to one of the darkest places my mind has ever gone. And that's saying something, because I've been to some really dark places. And honestly, I didn't know how to cope with this level of darkness, especially without spiraling back into addiction or self-harm or something like that. I'm not gonna lie, went home, drank a lot of wine. Ended up getting a call from the nurse who was just wanting to say she's sorry, but I know she meant well. I know she did, but this was one of the things that made me more angry than I could ever put into words, and it's probably a good thing that she called and that she didn't say this in an appointment, because I genuinely fear that I would have swung on this woman. I mean, I am not a violent person. I do not have a history of violence. I do not have a history of attacking people or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure I would have swung on this woman because she said, well, I'm really sorry that things didn't work out, and I'm sorry the cycle didn't go the way you want, but you just need to go watch a sunset tonight. Ma'am, are you fucking kidding me? I just lost my dream. I just lost this pregnancy. I just went through all of this for nothing, and your solution to that is go watch a sunset? This was obviously a very tumultuous process to begin with, but nothing, and I mean nothing, pissed me off more than the empty platitudes and toxic positivity that people threw at me during this process. Not just this go watch a sunset, but there was also a point where the most well-meaning person, the person that actually did care in this process, at the clinic, where she was saying, well, everything happens for a reason. She happens to be very religious, so everything happens for a reason. You just have to have faith, all of these things, and you have so much to be grateful for. You know, you have so much going for you. And I, in the middle of the clinic, I kid you not, there were patients around, there were staff everywhere, and I was like, you know what I don't fucking have? I don't have my daughter. That's what I don't have, and that's what I want, and that's why I'm here. And I don't need to be reminded of these things, because two things can be true. I can have these things and be grateful for these things, be it my son, or my ability to go to school, or my home, or my relationship. I can be grateful for these things and still be sorrowful that I don't have this, that I don't have this little girl, that I'm feeling like there's this part missing. That doesn't mean I'm not acknowledging the other parts. That doesn't mean I'm not grateful for the other parts. That means that I am being honest with myself, that there is this one specific part that I truly want more than anything, and I don't have it. And you're invalidating that by saying things like this. When I know that you're trying to make me feel better, I know you're trying to have me look on the bright side, but I don't need somebody having me try to look on the bright side. I need somebody that will sit in that darkness with me in that moment and just hold space for me. Just listen to my pain without trying to fix it, because there was no fixing it in that moment. This is kind of what triggered me to start watching the Saw movies, and that was my coping mechanism. I know that that sounds dark, but that is what got me through the next few weeks, the next couple of months, was watching the Saw movies, because I'd seen the first couple, but I'd never watched the whole franchise. And by this point, my partner had watched the first one, and he was invested enough into the story that he was also willing to go into it, because he went into a dark place too, and he didn't really have a history of that like I did. He didn't have a history of depression or anxiety or anything like that, but we both just fell into a really dark, dark place. I honestly really wish that we would normalize anger in this way. I actually talked to a mental health professional many years ago because I would watch the second Purge specifically, but I was watching the Purge movies to cope with the unhealthy relationship situation that I was in, and looking back, I think, why didn't you advise me to get out of this relationship? Why didn't you point out the red flags? Why didn't you tell me that it was practically impossible to be happy and healthy in this situation? But that's a story for another day. But I was watching this movie to cope with these very unsettling feelings and thoughts that were cropping into my mind. And I said, is this unhealthy? And she said, well, that depends. When you are watching it, is it giving you ideas? Is it fanning the flame? Is it making you want to hurt people more? Or is it giving you a place to channel that anger so that you don't do anything? And I said, that one. It's that one. I am not feeling motivated because of these movies to go out and commit crimes or commit acts of violence in any way, but I'm so angry that I need some place to channel it, and exercising just really isn't working for me. That sort of stuff just isn't working for me. I was doing kickboxing at the time. That just really isn't working for me. And she said, well, if that is your coping mechanism and it's not having these negative side effects, or if it's not having these undesirable side effects that are exacerbating violent tendencies, then watch that movie as many times as you need. I would honestly describe it like the Dementors on Harry Potter, where all of the hope, all of the good, all of the positive, everything that could possibly bring you the slightest bit of comfort is just sucked out of the world. There was nothing. I was empty. I was totally empty. I was starting to detach from my son. I completely shut off from my friends. I tried to show up here on the channel, and continue making content, but I could tell that was slipping. Fortunately, I was toward the end of school, and I was able to just hyper focus on getting my final assignments and my final test taken and everything. And then it was just throw my hands up. I don't care. I don't care. I started drinking again, and not heavily, but heavily to me. So I don't think we talk about the fact enough that drinking heavily for some people might mean having a whole 12-pack of beer or a half a fifth of vodka. I don't know. Like, I know that different people have different thresholds, but for me, I was starting to drink every day, and I was starting to have several drinks every day. And I am a lightweight, and it was a lot. And I still took good care of my son. I still was never drunk around him. I was never inebriated. I could still take care of his needs. I was still cognizant enough to be able to show up as his mom, but I felt myself emotionally detaching. Everything felt very perfunctory, like I was just going through the motions. And at this point, something shifted in me, and I just felt my shadow take over. And to top this off, by the way, this is where the financial issues start coming in, because the price that was quoted on the website for this process, for this cycle, was not even half of the price that they were actually billing us. So now they've been dishonest and deceptive about pricing. So while we're going through all of this grief and everything, we're trying to fight with them about this deception and about the inconsistencies with what they've been charging and how they've been adding extra charges that we didn't discuss or that we weren't told were not covered. And it was just really quickly stacking, right? Okay. So the only thing, my entire life, everything in my being, everything in my mind, the only thing I could think about was, how can I get to another cycle? How can I try again? How can I have another chance? But it was, I don't care what I have to do to be able to do another cycle. I don't care how much debt I go into. I don't care if I have to, sell out my own grandmother, which my grandma is not here and I'm obviously exaggerating, but it was just to the point of where this was such an obsession. It was consuming me. It started consuming my soul, and it was scary. Looking back now, I am scared to think of the person that I was during that time. And I know that people were reaching out to me saying, you seem off, something seems different, and they didn't know why. That is why. That is why, is because I went from the John Kramer to the Jigsaw. I went from the Walter White to the Heisenberg. My brain just shifted to this dark part of myself that, guys, you know I've been dealing with my shadow for a long time. You know that that is nothing new. I've had this dark passenger, this dark side of me for pretty much as long as I can remember, but at least I remember her really stepping into her power in my early teen years, right? But this was unparalleled to anything I'd ever experienced. And it was scary. Still doing my dog sitting business, still doing these other things. I thought, okay, I'm going to take on more jobs. I'm going to do other things. I'm going to do these side projects. I'm going to start selling things. So I started obsessively doing everything I could. Even though I was still in school, I was still enrolled full time. I was on a break there for a short period, but I immediately enrolled in more classes. I immediately said, I need to do another cycle right away. I can't take a break, because I just could not fathom not taking action toward this, not doing something. I'm like, no, I need to be closer to getting my little girl. I need to be closer to this. I need to get there, and I need to get my degree. I need to make this right. I need to fix things. I messed things up so bad when I was in all of these unhealthy relationships and this grief with my mom passing and everything. I messed up so bad, and I need to make it right. And I'm looking at the doctor and I'm telling him, you need to do this next cycle as soon as humanly possible. I don't want to wait. And I'm thinking in my head, and if you try and make me wait, I will put you in a reverse bear trap myself. Obviously, I'm not being literal. It's just that there was all this anger and aggression, and I could feel the process going on of where people really flip that switch. Now, I would not hurt anyone close to me. I was not in any danger of hurting my son or my partner or anything like that. But I could just see myself going down this really dark path. I said, I have to do something. I have to keep acting, because I felt if I didn't act, if I didn't keep taking these classes, if I didn't figure out how to do another cycle, I was going to do something violent. I was going to do something extreme. I was going to do something, and I didn't know if there would be coming back from it. And be that unaliving myself, be that hurting somebody, be that, I don't know, I was scared. I genuinely was scared that if I didn't do something, that I was going to break. So I won't go through all of the details again and again, but long story short, we had another retrieval.
I am just so tired of being here. I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of the pain. I'm so tired of the needles. I'm so tired of the disappointment and the anxiety. I'm just tired.
That one resulted in one boy, but my egg count and my egg quality declined pretty significantly. They put that boy in the freezer, basically, and said that we could decide whether or not we wanted to donate it to another couple or donate it to science or whatever the case was. But at this point, it's okay. We went through the whole entire cycle again, so it's months and months to find out, okay, you still didn't get what you wanted. And again, I'm not going to apologize for wanting what I wanted. It took me a long time to get to the point to have enough strength to say, this is my dream, this is what I want. And I'm just not going to apologize for that. I had the experience of having a wonderful, amazing little boy, but I don't need to have that experience again. I want to be a girl mom. I thought that I'd hated myself for a long time. I thought that I had no self-esteem, but I realized that I was letting other people's voices get in my head, that I actually thought quite highly of myself, and other people were constantly making me feel like I wasn't good enough, that they were tearing me down, that they were bullying me, whatever the case was. So it wasn't that I necessarily had bad self-esteem, it was that other people were chipping away at my self-esteem. But this was the first time where I really truly, deeply, in every way, hated myself. I hated my body for failing me. That's my perception. I hated the universe for taking this dream away from me. I hated everyone and everything. And like I said, I pretty much shut everyone out. And when I did talk to people, I just tried to put on a face and pretend that everything was okay, because that's what we do. And it's interesting because, look, I have this whole channel that's about shattering the mental health stigma, that's about, hey guys, let's talk about it. Let's be open about it. But it's like Alice and Alice in Wonderland says, sometimes I give myself very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. And I remember thinking about that at some point where it's just, I can tell all these other people and I can see that it would help them. I can see that this is the best choice to make, is to connect with people. And at this point, it almost just felt like I was too far in, that it would be awkward to call my friend and say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going through like 3 rounds of IVF. And so it just felt awkward at this point to bring it up. So I figured, no, I want to be able to announce this one day, and I want it to be special, and I want people to get really excited. I just want to have something normal about this process. And to me, that was a baby announcement. That was the thing that would be normal, was an announcement. So in my head, it was just, nope, I have to keep pushing forward. You have to do this alone. Do not drag other people into all of this drama, into all of this pain, because there's really nothing anyone can do anyway. I mean, unless somebody wanted to come in and help with the finances, or unless somebody wanted to come in and help with the logistics of things, like take things off my plate, there wasn't really anything anyone could say that I was going to listen to, because my mind had already made up how I felt. So I just didn't want to involve anyone. Now, I will say there was one person who I found out we had made a professional connection, and during our professional call, she had to stop and give herself an injection. And I said, oh, are you diabetic? And she said, no, I'm going through IVF. And I said, fun story. So we kind of became unofficial IVF buddies. This was toward the end. This wasn't through the first cycle. This was after those I'm just going to call them miscarriages, because they implanted embryos in me that did not take. So to me, that process is a miscarriage. And it was back to back, two back-to-back miscarriages. So after that, we had connected and we'd started sharing where we were in our journey. And it was just so refreshing to have someone, at least, that I could say, oh yeah, this is how I'm feeling today. But it was strange, because I was so used to always having my best friends and everything, or talking to you guys here in the community. And this person was in a different state and also had a very busy life. So we text each other and stuff, and it was somewhat helpful, but it just wasn't about talking. Like, I needed this to succeed. I needed people to take things off my plate. That's what I needed in that moment. I needed someone to help me lighten the load so I could breathe. And I don't mean lighten the load as in say, Amanda, you need to take less classes at college. Amanda, you need to step away from the channel, because that's not what I needed. That was giving me something to focus on. I didn't need to take on less. I needed the things that I was doing to be moving in the right direction. And I do think there was a certain aspect of I probably needed to at least take a break between cycles, but I also really needed to feel like I was moving forward. And that's just where I was in my journey. So we finally get to the 4th retrieval, and the doctor straight up said, I can't do anything else after this one. This is your last shot. So if this one doesn't work, I can't do another cycle. I can't put your body through this anymore. Your body is starting to show signs of exhaustion, your mind's showing signs of exhaustion, and your egg count and quality are significantly dropping at this point, because I had been going through it for several years, and obviously age was catching up with me. And he said, I'm not going to do another cycle after this. I will do this one last cycle. We're still fighting finances. That is becoming a whole dramatic situation of itself that is putting so much unnecessary weight. And I resent the absolute hell out of that clinic for not being transparent about charges, for not being transparent about what cycles entailed. I resent them a lot. And I will say that the only person at this entire place that really genuinely made me feel like she cared was the billing lady. the billing lady. She was the only person that really held space for my emotions, that really made me feel like I was more than a number. Now, when I say that I felt like just a number, I happen to know that my patient number was 81794 because that became such an ingrained part of my identity while I was there that I didn't feel like I was actually a person. I just felt like cattle. I just felt like I was being sucked dry of my milk, or in this case of my eggs, of my money, and just being pushed through. I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel valued, I didn't feel heard in most cases, and I just felt really completely dehumanized. This whole entire process was very dehumanizing, and I think that it would have been that way to a certain level anyway, but I feel like good medical care, and this goes to prove that not every professional is going to treat you in a respectable and dignified way. So sometimes it's, if you can, in the sense of therapy and stuff, it's worth kind of shopping around. That wasn't possible in this case, but they made it so much worse than it needed to be that I literally, in my head, reduced myself to being patient 81794. That's what I was in my head. That's all I was. I was panicked. I was panicked beyond words because all I heard was that this was my last shot, my last chance. And the odds hadn't really been ever in my favor prior to this. I mean, it seemed like it was, where it's, oh, you win the lottery, just kidding, we're gonna take it all back. And that's what this process felt like over and over and over, was just having this dream dangled in front of you to then have it ripped away over and over and over again. Finally get to this last cycle where I'm just going through everything, and now I'm really, really nitpicking every single thought that goes through my head, every single thing I watch, every single thing I eat, every single thing I do, every single person I talk to. I am living in just a constant cage of anxiety. It was anxiety like I have never known, and I lived with anxiety as far back as I can remember, but it was just an anxiety I'd never known, that if I don't do everything perfectly, this is going to fail. Not realizing that I could do everything perfectly and it could still fail, that I could have done everything perfectly before, that it wasn't necessarily anything that I'd done, although I remember getting laser hair removal. I'd won this laser hair removal thing from a local spa, and I had that done on my bikini area, and I remember that was before the one embryo didn't, or stopped growing, when that second one stopped growing, and I raked myself through the flames, through the fire. I was just, you stupid girl. If you watch Handmaid's Tale, all I could hear was Aunt Lydia in my head over and over and over going, you stupid, stupid girl. And it was just this constant, I messed up. This is my fault. I did something wrong. Everything I did was just, I did something wrong. I had to have done something wrong. Why am I being punished? What is this? What is my life? What has become of my life? And people would say, well, you should be grateful. Actually, there are people that will say, oh, you should be grateful for the child you already have, or you should be grateful for all of your successes or all of your things, but they didn't understand that I just felt incomplete without her. So finally get to the next retrieval. We go through the waiting game. We find out we have 1.5 female embryos. That's it. 1.5 female embryos that we can use. And when I say 1.5, I mean one that was genetically sound and one that wasn't genetically unsound, but there could be complications. So there was one that was top tier and the other one that could come with complications. And I just didn't even know how to process that at this point, how to go, okay, well, how do I deal with all of this, of knowing how to handle that, or how to make the call whether or not I can transfer this one that might lead to problems that I just personally can't manage, like I can't handle. How do I make that decision? But of course they said we're going to transfer the healthier one first. And they did, and we went through the waiting game again. And we got the call again that the test was positive. But the sad thing is that I had just tried to go to a neurologist. This was multiple doctors in to deal with my insomnia because it was getting so bad that I just wasn't sleeping at all. And if I did it, like I said, I'd sleep a couple hours a night at best. But there were days and days and days where I just didn't sleep at all. And I was trying to go to professionals, mental health professionals, urologists, cardiologists, neurologists, all these different ologists, all these different specialists. I was trying all these natural remedies. I was trying to do everything I could to bring my stress levels down to resolve it. I had just got through an appointment, if you even want to call it that, with a neurologist that had told me, well, you have anxiety, so we're not actually going to run any tests because it's clearly just the anxiety. So would not even run any blood tests, would not do anything to try to figure out the source of this. And I'm going, I've had anxiety pretty much my whole life, and I just don't believe that it's just anxiety. But I talked to the IVF doctor and stuff about it, and he had no solutions. And I was bawling in the car on the way back home, just going, nobody will listen to me, nobody will help me, nobody cares. And I was just feeling so helpless, so hopeless, so overwhelmed, so desperate to sleep, desperate to get this to work, desperate. Okay.
Y'all ready, Aaron? Or Amanda? Is
Yeah.
Aaron there?
Yes.
Okay, well, congratulations, you're pregnant. 822, great number.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. We need to have you continue all your medications. Okay, so the estrogen and the progesterone, and let's repeat that on Thursday, okay? What time do you want to come in Thursday?
Can you write my planner, please? It's in my backpack. Oh my god.
I'm going, here we go again. Yeah, great. Another positive test. It's just gonna not end well, right? Well, it did end well. And the HCG levels rose, and we got to the point where things were kind of past the question point. Like, I was pregnant. I was pregnant as pregnant could be, okay. I had the positive test and the HCG levels were rising. So we overcame that hurdle. And I was just, it felt like this light was coming back into me. It felt like I could breathe again. Like, okay, things are working out. Then at 7 weeks in the pregnancy, I was talking about, how am I going to tell my best friend? I want to know how to tell my best friend. So I was talking to my partner about how do I tell my best friend? And I just started gushing blood, just gushing blood. I ran to the bathroom. Within a couple of minutes, my bathroom looked like a Dexter kill scene. It was awful. It was, I won't get too graphic, but it was just I don't even know how there is that much in my little body. It's just everywhere. And of course, I'm hysterical because I'm going, there's no way that this isn't another miscarriage. So rush to the ER and get there and find out that they are going to do an ultrasound. Like, the nurse tells me, the doctor tells me, yeah, it's a miscarriage. Like, there's nothing we can do. We're going to have an ultrasound to confirm it. So we go down to have the ultrasound. And the ultrasound tech is scanning, and I just, again, refuse to look. I'm closing my eyes, and I'm just digging my nails into my arm because sometimes that's what I do, and it's not consciously like trying to self-harm. It's trying to brace myself, trying to ground myself, trying to bring myself back to reality. So my nails are just dug into my arm, and I'm just completely numb. I don't even know how to handle this. It's like being completely numb, but being in the most excruciating emotional pain of your life at the same time. And the ultrasound tech is waving it, and I'm just waiting for her to rip off the Band-Aid. And she says, actually, you're not miscarrying. You have a subchorionic bleed, and it's significant, and there's a significant chance that you could lose the pregnancy. And I'm just, wait, what? So it's just, again, it's the back and forth of being pulled in all these directions all the time, where it's, I don't even know what to believe anymore. I don't know what's reality. And I'm not kidding. I started dissociating at the, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to plan for. I don't know what to think for. And I'm just, okay, awesome. And she said, you need to go home and be on bed rest. And then if anything else happens, come back. Follow up with your doctor and come back if anything else happens. So the only thing I did for the next week and a half was I went to one of my classes, and I had my boyfriend take me and had him escort me and everything. And I didn't ride my bike. I didn't do anything. And this was several days after it happened. And I just sat there, and then my boyfriend came and got me, and we left. So I was still doing as little as humanly possible. And then 9 weeks, where they said, okay, you can get up and kind of start moving a little bit again. We're out and about. Bleeding starts again. And they had said, if bleeding starts again, if this gets worse, it's probably because it detached, right? So again, we get down to the ER, and the doctors are, yeah, it's the subchorionic bleed had to have detached, and detached the embryo, and this has to be miscarriage. And again, the technician, the ultrasound technician, comes in, does the scan, and I'm just sitting there going, I don't know how to do my life at this point without this key part of myself. I feel like a part of me is missing, and I feel like a part of my life isn't right. And if this really happens right now, and the IVF doctor won't do another round, and I just have no other chance, no other choice, it's like, I did the thoughts and prayers, I tried the praying, I tried the holistic stuff, I tried the medical stuff, I tried the science stuff, and nothing worked. Like, at this point, I don't know what to do if this doesn't work out, if I lose her right now. Because I'm at 9 weeks, and I don't know what to do if I lose her right now. And I do know, obviously, that it's a girl and everything this time, unlike with the original miscarriage at the beginning of the story. And again, she tells us, nope, the hemorrhage had just kind of reopened, go back on bed rest for a couple weeks, and there's a decent chance it will resolve itself, whatever that means, because that's really specific, right? But went home, went back on bed rest, just tried to take it easy, tried to eat as healthy as I could, tried to stay hydrated, and was just in a limbo that was also a hell. So it was like a purgatory that was also a hell, because it was this unknowing, but it was also immeasurable suffering. And I'm just sitting there terrified to literally just move at all. I'm scared to even get up and go to the bathroom because I'm scared something bad's gonna happen. So that was just fear and trauma, and it took me back to this place. The bleed did end up resolving itself. Again, I held my breath, I swear, until I hit the 12-week mark, because that's when the rate of miscarriage starts significantly declining.
Okay. It's fine. My eyes are still in the dark. It's okay. It's got some movement. It's a heartbeat. I'll try and do it again, okay? Can I look? Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god. It's my daughter. She's leaving the G like you know she's coming. There's
And I had this goal to hit my 12-week mark to be able to earn my Zora mask, which I made a short about this, that I collect masks from the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask to show different accomplishments in my life, right? So when I have a big accomplishment, I'll get a mask for that. I'll get myself a mask for that. And I wanted so bad to hit 12 weeks so that I could get the Zora mask, because that's what I had written for the goal to get that mask, because I had to hit 12 weeks with my little girl. And opening that, unboxing that, meant everything to me, getting to see that, because I had this fear, not only that I was going to be incomplete, that there's this part of me that's going to be incomplete, that empty space on my shelf was going to be an everlasting reminder of how incomplete I felt. So I could finally breathe after that point, and I'm happy to report that I'm now at 27 weeks. I'm feeling her move. I'm feeling so happy. Like, I'm feeling so happy and so stressed out and so scared, but so happy. And I probably just rambled for a really long time. I don't even know if anybody's actually still watching this or listening to this. If you are, thank you so much for listening to my journey, because I really just needed to get it out. But I'm pregnant, and I don't even know how to process that in my brain, because it's been such a long journey that sometimes I'm in denial about it. Sometimes I don't believe it. Sometimes I'm still scared that something's going to happen even this late in the game, because I know that things can happen, you know, at any point. But I pushed through all of that doubt and all of that fear and all of that anger and all of that sadness. I did what I had to do to keep pushing, and some people would say, oh, well, you should have taken a break, or oh, you should have stopped, or oh, you fell into this obsession. But had I not, I would have forever felt like a part of myself was missing. I would have forever felt like a failure. I would have forever just shut off. I don't think I ever would have come back. I don't think I ever would have been myself again. And maybe the journey hasn't been everything that I wanted or everything I expected. Maybe my friends didn't show up in the way that I wanted them to, or maybe the community didn't react in the way I wanted them to, or maybe I didn't get to have the day-to-day experiences that I wanted to. But I have to really just say that I fought and I won. I won. I didn't believe in myself. I had everything stripped from me. I was just broken down to my absolute bare bones self. I was so unbelievably empty. I was so unbelievably checked out. I did not have any hope left, really. And I somehow came back from that. I somehow fought that voice, and I somehow won. And it wasn't easy, but every time, she's actually moving right now. Every time I feel her move, I know it was so worth that fight. It was so worth continuing to press forward, even when I thought I didn't have anything left in me. Now, I know that other people are going to have different journeys, and I think that it's very important to know what your breaking point is, and it's very important to know when you should throw in the towel. But I just couldn't comprehend doing that, because I didn't think that I would make it if I didn't have this part of my family, if my family was incomplete. Because now I have Bryson, and I have Aurora, her name's Aurora, and I have love, and I have this happily ever after. But people see on social media, they see, oh, there's a pregnancy announcement, or oh, this person got this job, or oh, this person accomplished XYZ, and they don't see what went into it. They think, oh, that person's so lucky. Oh, that person just, really has everything so easy. Oh, that person got what I didn't. But you don't know how hard that person might have had to fight. I fought for over 3 years to be pregnant right now. I fought for over 3 years. I went through hundreds of needles. I went through countless mental breakdowns to the point of where I didn't recognize myself, like I said. I went through absolute hell, and I didn't give up. I didn't say, this just isn't going to happen for me. I'm too old. I don't have the right numbers. I don't have what it takes. I'm just a failure. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. Whatever the case was. Did I say that at some point in my head? Absolutely, a million times. But there was still this little itty bitty teeny tiny voice that I had to find, that I had to connect to keep pressing forward. That voice came from outside sources, like a character on a movie I was watching, or a quote in a book I was reading, or even something that a friend said. It was very rarely from inside myself, because I couldn't find that inside myself in that moment. But I had to keep searching, and I had to keep trying to find things that resonated with me, that comforted me, that gave me maybe not even hope, but that just gave me the determination, that lit that fire under me that says, I don't even need the hope. I'm just going to keep pressing forward. I'm just going to keep trying. There are a lot of ways that I am so lucky, not just in the success of the cycle in being able to attain my degree. I actually ended up getting my bachelor's in forensic psychology, and I did that with honors. I maintained a 4.0 through that whole process, despite all of the trials and tribulations, despite my mental health tanking several times through there. I caught the girl. I succeeded. I had that success story. I get my dream. I get my happily ever after. And I hold space that that's not everybody's journey. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody does have that win in the end. And I hold space for that. I had to overcome insurmountable odds. It was just one lottery after another after another. It was a huge gamble, and the odds were not in any way, shape, or form in my favor. They were stacked against me every step of the way. So I know that there was a bit of luck in it, that there was a lot of science, that there was a lot of grit, but at the same time, I created a lot of that luck. I created that because I said, I'm going to keep taking the chances. And maybe that is an unhealthy mindset to have, because you don't want to fall into that sunk cost fallacy that a lot of gambling addicts have, where it's, well, this one didn't work, I'll win next time, I'll get it next time. You definitely don't want to fall into that mentality, but there is a big difference between saying, okay, I'm just throwing money at the wall, and I'm trying to be proactive in moving forward toward a future that I desperately want, this future that I'm willing to put in the work for. My partner deserves a lot of credit, because he is the diamond in the rough when it comes to supportive people. He's everything I could possibly imagine. He went through the emotions with me. He didn't try and suppress that. We cried together. We held space for each other's feelings and emotions. And he really did try to build me up in whatever way I needed in that moment. And not necessarily build me up, like try to make me feel better, but just even hold me up when I'm crumbling, when I'm falling apart. When I was doing the injections for the first several rounds, when he was doing the injections for me, which in and of itself is kind for him to be doing that, because I couldn't, and that was one of his ways of participating. He also let me fill syringes with saline a few times and give him injections, just so I could let out a little bit of that dark passenger, that inner Dexter. But he made these little paper chains. Remember those little paper chains that we used to make when we were kids? He made these paper chains, and each one of them, I would get to take a link off when I got an injection, and each one of them was something like a foot rub, or a dinner of your choice, or a movie of your choice, or a picnic, or an escape room, or whatever the case was. He just had all of these different things that made it just a little more palpable for me, because obviously the experience is miserable. Getting stabbed umpteen times is not pleasant. And it just made it to where I had something little to look forward to. And at one of the points where I was just rock bottom, down and out, hopeless, he admitted that he didn't know what to say. He didn't have the right words. And he ended up getting a Cameo, which Cameo is this website where you can go and have celebrities record videos for people or for causes or whatever. And he ended up getting Lance Bass of NSYNC, which for those of you that don't know, I am still a 13-year-old teeny bopper at heart when it comes to NSYNC. I have all the dolls down here. One of them is hidden behind my chair. I have the NSYNC pillow here. So I am heavily obsessed with NSYNC. Still makes me totally giddy to think of NSYNC. And Lance actually also went through IVF because they did a surrogate. Him and his partner did a surrogate so that they could have a baby, and they ended up getting twins. But my partner had had Lance record a video.
Yes, I heard about your IVF situation, and I have to say, look, we went through the same thing. It took us 5 years to finally get our twins. So don't give up. It'll happen when it happens. The universe gives you what you need when you need it. So good luck with everything, and hope to talk to you soon. Bye.
And there's a part of me that's going, I can't do this for 5 years. I'm going to go nuts. I ended up doing it for about 3, by the way, all said and done. Not IVF itself, but trying. But just hearing it from someone who'd been through it, hearing it from someone I looked up to and admired, hearing it from someone I would actually listen to, you know, it was a pep talk, but it was from someone who had some kind of practical experience with it, not just someone who was giving me empty platitudes. This was Lance Bass. I would have listened to anything he said. And I just remember sitting there and going, okay, even this person who's really successful, this person who has all this money, all of these connections, all of these opportunities, he still struggled too. He still struggled to get there too. It wasn't just, okay, you throw some money at it and it goes away. So that was really reassuring, but it also just meant a lot that my partner admitted, you know what, I don't have the experience or the words to give you right now. So I am going to kind of call in help from someone who does. And then there was my son, who least of all did I want to expose him to the grief and the disappointment and the confusion and the uncertainty and just having to watch him wither away like I felt like I was through even the process where I was just trying for a year naturally. Watching him wither like that, watching him fall apart like that, I didn't want to subject my child to that. I didn't want to subject him to all these levels of instability and uncertainty, even though I do think that he's a strong young man and I do think that we could have gotten through it together as a family. I just didn't think that there was any real value or purpose in dragging him through that with me. So having to hide all of this from him was one of the most challenging things, because he never even knew I was trying. He did not know. He knew I had the original miscarriage, but he didn't know that I was still trying. He certainly didn't know I was going through IVF. So when we told him, it was just this huge, oh, whoa, shock. And he didn't know the extent of what we'd gone through, other than the fact that it took a lot of needles and medication, which we told him in the end after the announcement. But it just, I felt like it was all the more meaningful when we got to tell him that I was pregnant, that he got to really enjoy and lean into that, as opposed to trying to connect with that emotion while also trying to process the grief and the loss of the other cycles. If I had to go back and do things differently, I would definitely tell the people close to me so that they could be there and show up, because that's what friends are for, is to hold space for you when you are going through something very difficult, when you are struggling, when you can't find yourself, when you can't see yourself. They're there to reconnect you in some way to who they know is beneath that pain. And I wish that I would have reached out. I wish that I would have talked about this in the community, whether, you know, just in streams or maybe just a vlog when I started the journey, or maybe documenting things throughout the process. I wish I would have done that. I don't wish that I would have given up. I don't wish, obviously, because it worked, but even if I couldn't see the future, if I couldn't see whether or not it was going to work out, this to me was a testament to what I could accomplish, to what I could do. It really pushed me to the brink of insanity. It pushed me to the breaking point. It pushed me way beyond what I ever thought that I could handle, what I ever thought I was capable of. It pushed me to a point where I just was in a whole different world. So I really don't know how to end this any more than I knew how to start it. I don't even know if I'm going to post it, because I feel like I just rambled for like 2 hours. But I know for a fact I'm going to turn off this camera and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to ruminate the rest of the day and night and probably the next 10 years about all the things that I should have said or all of the things that I didn't bring up, and I'm going to agonize about whether or not I just rambled or whether or not I got my story across, that I got my emotions across, because I am frustrated with myself that I didn't in some way document this for my own mental health, but also so I could share this with you in a more emotional way, because I feel like it was okay. I'm storytelling, I'm going and narrating this for you, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're seeing it happen. And obviously, me recounting it now is not as effective as if I would have recorded when I had to have those pills inserted, or when we found out that things weren't progressing, or do reactions to Saw movies. I don't know. I just feel like, sure, this isn't the most emotional way to get things across, but it's what I have to offer, and I hope that it is well received. I had to talk about this. I had to go through the process. I had to relive that almost as my own exposure therapy. And I had to take you guys through the process so that you could see that when people have success stories, it's not because everything just happened for them. It's not because they're lucky. It's not because that they had something special, because I don't have anything special. I had all the odds stacked against me, in fact, but I found a way to keep trying and to keep moving forward. And I hope that even if this isn't your journey, that you could take something from this. I hope that I didn't traumatize you too much. I hope that I said something of value and didn't just ramble a lot. I hope that this can help the community see that during this time, I've really shown up for everybody, even through the IVF process. I've been there and I've shown up for everybody, and I've tried to help people. I literally was on a stream while I was having one of those miscarriages. I came onto a stream because I wanted to show up for everyone else. And I continue to make content. And right now, I'm going to continue to make content, but I have to be honest, I just feel like I need things to be about me for a hot minute. I feel like I need to celebrate this pregnancy with you guys, this big win, the biggest win that I've ever had in my life that I could ever imagine. Like, I need to celebrate this with you. I need support. I need love. I need practical help. Like, I just need my community. I need my friends, and I don't feel like I'm connecting in the way that I want to be. So I love you and I want to be here for you, but I also need support in return, and I just need space to be held for this journey, for this challenge, for the days that are coming ahead and the uncertainty that comes with that, because I have no freaking idea what's going on. Like, I feel like I went through this with my son, but I was going through a lot of trauma at that point with his father, so I don't really remember anything about being pregnant or having him, other than a few little things here and there. So I still feel like it's the first time and I'm totally unprepared, and I love you guys so much, and I want so much to grow this community and to keep showing up. I know that a lot of people do go through these journeys of pregnancy and miscarriage and postpartum and infertility and IVF, and they feel like they have no support and they have nowhere to go. And I wanted to share this because honestly, it is kind of a cry for support that I'm still really needing to heal through everything that I've gone through in the past few years, to move forward in these next steps, because even if they're happy, they're still very challenging, to really foster more connection in this community, to grow this community. I really do need support, and I'm just going to be honest about that. But I also want you guys to be able to come here and tell your stories and share, because you might not have any other place, and I know how isolating and scary and overwhelming that felt. So I just want to take that off of everybody, that if you're needing someone to talk to, if you're needing a buddy to go through this process with, I will absolutely do my best to be your buddy. The comment section is here, and I'm hoping that it fills up with a lot of buddies that we can make to go through this process. So thank you so much. make sure that you're sharing down below. That's how we shatter the mental health stigma, is by talking and being open. Even if some of that stuff might be uncomfortable for us or make other people uncomfortable, it's how we move forward. So please try to hold space for people in the different journeys that they're on. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.